April, there's my girl.
Hi, my name is John Mannion. I'm the writer and director of Equus Landing. Thanks for watching this, the deleted scenes. I wanted to share this because I think it's nice to show some of the process of what goes into making the film, some of the other work that went into it that didn't show up in the final version. And I'll talk here and there. I'll stop. I think there are 5 scenes in total. I'll stop here and there and talk about why we cut what we did, what the initial vision was, and that kind of thing. So this one is the barn scene, and let's watch.
And how's Miss Daisy?
Oh, Daisy's doing just fine. How are you? Another tough night last night?
No, I think it was good.
Yeah? Good.
I think I need a mini like Daisy.
Yeah? And what would you do with one? Oh no, you can't ride them.
I wasn't going to.
Uh-huh.
Listen, miss, I know a thing or two about horses. I know that they stand when they sleep.
Not really. I mean, Daisy here took a big old nap in her shavings last night. I had to brush them all out of her tail this morning. But you're mostly right. They're prey animals, so they want to be ready. So I have a special surprise for you, but you have to wait right here.
Okay, I'll just be right here.
So I'll stop right here and say, first of all, I'm really grateful to have some barn slash horse people and connections in my life to even be able to film a scene like this. That said, we didn't have a ton of time to get this scene, and we were trying to work with this mini horse, and as you'll see in a moment, a much bigger horse, and we needed a lot more time. And actually, this was us going back to this barn after the first time around, working with a different horse, and just things were way too complicated, and we were trying to really simplify here. But the reason for deleting this particular scene was that, as you can see, it really was about having a lot of dialogue, building out the story a lot, building out these characters, and maybe in a feature-length film that could have worked. It started to feel like once we got to editing, it was too slow, the pacing was too slow, and it was too much explaining through the dialogue, even though I had written it. This is on me, but I realized at that point it's too much explaining through the dialogue, and we really just wanted to feel something. That's what I was feeling as the audience, and we weren't getting there fast enough or in the right way, or the right ways of getting kind of the feeling across. And so a lot of these long dialogue scenes, or several of them, ended up being cut just because they slowed things up, and we also had some complications, to be honest, in this with the horses, with the cuts, and some of it just wasn't working. So it ended up being better to pull from it a little bit here and there and use what we could, but didn't end up using a lot of it, unfortunately. But some of the shots were really fun to do, and obviously really fun to work with horses.
Want to be ready. Always ready.
Here's the surprise. She got in last night.
Last night?
Beautiful, isn't she? April?
Pay attention. Write down everything you notice. Great. This is exactly what I'm going to pay you for.
So this scene initially was meant to build out this character Tristan and his internal dialogue with himself, and even to poke fun at what his therapist had told him to do, to notice what's coming up for him and to write those things down. This is Tristan's interpretation, at least, of what his therapist had told him to do. And it's a space that I found to kind of not take ourselves so seriously as an idea. I think I try to do that in my storytelling. I have some background in studying psychology and counseling, and I find that those spaces, especially those spaces of lightheartedness and play, especially in stories where there are weightier themes, can actually be really helpful to recognize ourselves in those characters, and to see how in those spaces or out of those spaces, sometimes we actually get to the thing we need to see. Not all the time, but sometimes. And in this case, he does get there, you'll see at the end of the scene, to recognizing or hearing rather this, what's stirring in his unconscious. But all that to say, it was probably a little too ambitious in the sense of it was too much explaining. Again, too much trying to get the themes across through all this dialogue. It was taking a little too much time, and ultimately it just didn't work. The tone, the lighthearted tone, didn't work for the final version. But I love what our actor, what John did here with the scene. It was fun to work with him on this, and even just fun during that day, which was, we had to film a lot to just kind of have a moment where we were all laughing and almost a breath to have that together, the cast and crew. And it's nice to have that on the film set sometimes. So, and also to conceptualize. I will say it was fun to conceptualize this with Penelope, the overhead shot tilting up, revealing him, seeing him there at the table, seeing different angles. It was tough in editing to then have continuity between the different angles. I think we got close where he was in somewhat of the same position, different angles, but and then we were like, oh, I don't think we're gonna use this scene, but it happens. So yeah, here it is.
Let's see what we got here. Biotech equity researcher. Charlie doesn't know what he's doing. Ooh, look at this one. Frantic squirrel outside. This one has to have some meaning. But then again, have I ever noticed a non-frantic squirrel outside? All right. I gotta be doing this all wrong. Okay, that's the problem. Okay, I got something. The shrink must have been right. Oh, wait. Nothing. Still nothing.
I do remember something from last night.
So this one we actually did end up using the beginning of this in the final version and then splitting it up in different ways. But initially it was all a full scene, and I felt like seeing the footage, I felt it wasn't working, going from such a lighthearted tone between the characters and then right into this deeper monologue, which Katie, our actress who plays April, and delivers very well. And I love this monologue. I'm glad we got to still include a lot of it. But it just wasn't working for the whole scene. And then also you'll see a little later in the scene, there was some issue with Art, the dog, getting him to come up to April and just in a kind of a natural way for her to pet him. And we spent a while on trying to get that, and it just wasn't working. Art is Alexis's dog, and he's a great dog. Alexis plays Sydney in this film, and he is actually a perfect dog to have on set. Very cooperative. He just wasn't having it for some reason for this particular shot, and so it was nice that we didn't end up having to use the end of the scene. But one thing I am sad about not being able to do or capture was the wraparound here, which you'll see. And we really planned this out. Penelope and I planned this out to mirror the wraparound shot that we also didn't include from Tristan and April entering Tristan's apartment. We just didn't have enough time at that location, which happens when you have limited time at locations, that we didn't have enough time to get it the right way. But the idea was that we were going to mirror, shots between the two places, between the two characters, just like some of their lives were mirroring each other in different ways. And even some of the words, the dialogue, were going back and forth. But yeah, anyway, I'm glad we got to include what we did in the final version. And it just ended up working better being split up.
I remember looking in the mirror and thinking, why does she still win? Why is she still the voice inside your head? Why can't you just move on? She's not even here anymore, April. She's not here to...
April, you're here. You're right here. And you're safe. And I don't think it would hurt for you to get out a little bit more. I mean, when was the last time you did something? Anything? Maybe we should go to the barn tomorrow.
I don't know, Sid. I guess I could use a little distraction.
The walking on the phone scene. We did this one 2 times. It was actually the first scene we filmed, the first day of filming, and then we came back to this location to film it again. The first one just wasn't working, and we liked this location better, and it is a cool location, but eventually I realized that it wasn't really moving the plot along. It was meant to take this character, to add movement, to take this character to his place of work, and because I also realized we would have had to get a whole nother location for that, and we could just film all of this character's Tristan's scenes in his apartment. And so we did that, and then he just turns around here and goes back home. So it didn't really move things along, wasn't really necessary. Our John, the actor, did bring his son this day, and we got a little behind the scenes with him. It was a simpler filming day, and so he brought his son, and that was fun. So we did get that, but we ended up deciding this one wasn't necessary to include.
Yeah, can you tell him Tristan Archer called? No, I haven't been in for some time. I can schedule a new appointment with him. Okay, thanks. Have him call me in my office. Actually, have him call my cell. I'll be home today. Thanks.
So this was a really, really cool location, Eby's Landing, and it was also a tough one to film at. We went on a Monday, but it was a holiday weekend, and there were a lot of people passing by constantly, so we had to get the shot quickly as we could, and somebody would pass by and so forth, and there was a lot of wind, so I was shouting. Everybody was annoyed at me, shouting at the actors what to do, the actions to do and different things. And then, the sun we were dealing with the sun in different places throughout the day. And so in the final version, we cut a lot from here. I got the footage, and I just felt like a lot of it wasn't quite landing how I initially envisioned. And it ultimately didn't really work for the story as we had changed it throughout the process. Initially, you'll see in this version, in this initial, what was going to be the initial scene of the film, pretty much, that there's more of a clear sense of them both arriving here and seeing each other, which would be more in a dream state, and then they're in the same location at the end of the film, and they see each other as if they had seen this before it actually took place. That idea, and that's still in the final version. But just a little bit more abstract or mysterious. And I think it actually works better in the final version, in my opinion. But from this one, we also have, you'll see in this scene, the idea of this sound, kind of disturbing sound, taking them into and out of the dream state, which I really did want that to be part of this, to use the senses to be part of what takes us in and out of the unconscious spaces within us. Because I think it's all connected. But that being said, we did end up using music and composition to a degree with the idea of the sound and them going in and out of dream states in the final version. It just wasn't as clear as it probably would have been had we gone this route. But yeah, it was just one of those where a lot changed through the process, and so we ended up cutting quite a bit from Eby's Landing, including really most or all of this initial scene.